Fear not, O land. Could be said, fear not, O earth. Be glad and rejoice. For Yahweh has done marvelous things. In this case, once again, great things. So just like the the beast, the little horn, will do great evil things, Yahweh tells us not to worry because he will do great good things. I'm sorry. Fear not, O earth, be glad and rejoice, for Yahweh has done great things. Be glad and rejoice. Do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the open pastures are springing up, and the tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. When it comes to people being represented by trees, we see in Revelation that the chosen few are represented by the trees that give fruit, of course. The many are represented by the soil, the land, and the nations are represented by the sea. Also, we see in Daniel that the empires or the nations of the world are represented by animals because of the fact of the beliefs of those nations or the actions of those nations, which can be represented by the actions of certain animals. When it comes to their beliefs, whatever angel or entity they worship, its shape would be that of a creature or animal, insect, or whatever in this reality, not of a human, because we were made in the image of the Almighty. Yet animals were made in the image of angels and other entities, so that's why some religions worship animals and stuff like that. Do not be afraid, you beasts of the field. We see also in this fourth seal that the beast will go against people, will start getting going against the people, attacking people. But when it comes to this, also the plagues of Egypt, Yahweh destroyed the beasts, plus the way that the earth will be left after that army that will leave everything as a desolate place, would cause the beasts to worry and ask Yahweh for food. So that's why Yahweh tells them here, do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the open pastures are springing up. When it comes to what I was saying previously, it would be, do not be afraid, you nations of the world, for the open pastures, meaning for the food, the spiritual food, is coming up, as in the testimony of the two witnesses who will speak to the whole world. And the tree bears its fruit. Yahushua HaMashiach is the tree of life. For he was hanged from a tree, meaning a wooden cross. That was the shape of it, but it was made of wood. And wood in Hebrew is the same word as tree. So he became the fruit of the tree of life, because he is the life, the eternal life, from whom we eat through our belief in him in order to have eternal life. The second coming represents the tree of knowledge of good, the tree of the knowledge of he who is good. The tree of knowledge was also the tree of knowledge of evil, the knowledge of good and evil. The second coming, comes as the prodigal son, who fell in sin, therefore knows what sin does, what it causes to the soul, to people, etc. So that's how he becomes the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He knew evil and chose good, so he's able to give people, through experience, through knowledge, the knowledge of he who is good, the knowledge of he who is true. For the prodigal son comes from a false doctrine, and he has to realize that it is false, just like the rest of the doctrines of the world. So Yahweh gives him the revelation of the true doctrine, which comes from Yahushua. So, and the tree bears its fruit, as in the food will come through the witness who is the tree, who is bearing fruit, so that people may eat and receive the pleasure that comes from knowing the Father. And of course, the nourishment that food gives to continue living. So, do not be afraid, you beasts of the field, for the open pastures are springing up, and the tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. Yahushua cursed the fig tree because he came to his people and his people rejected him. Yahushua came from Yahudah, the tribe of Yahudah. Yahudah is represented by the fig tree. Interestingly enough, according to some opinions, the tree of life was the vine and the tree of knowledge was the fig tree. Others would say, or at least I would say, even if, some people don't want to believe it, is that the fig tree represents the tree of knowledge, just as it represents Yahudah. Yahushua came to Yahudah and they didn't accept him. So he cursed the fig tree because it didn't have fruit, it only had leaves. The people of Israel only had the works of men, the commandments of men. They didn't fulfill the commandments of Yahweh. So they did not have fruit, they only have leaves. They looked filled with something, but it was only the commandments of men. I repeat, represented by the leaves of the tree. The fig tree represents the tribe of Yahudah. The vine represents the lost tribes of Israel. And like I said, the vine is the tree of life. That's why Yahushua said, I am the vine, the true vine. And that's why he gave his blood as the wine. The last is the tree of knowledge. So he comes as the fig tree. That's why he comes as the lion of Yahudah, the king. Even though he comes from the tribe of Joseph, but that's another story. Yahushua came from the tribe of Yahudah, so he fulfilled that part. Therefore, the last, by being covered by the Ruach of the first, can fulfill that. So, the tree bears its fruit. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. The last and the first are given their strength to the few, to those who are seeking Yahweh's presence and strength. And as it is written, we can do all things through Mashiach who strengthens us. So the vine is given his strength. The fig tree and the vine yield their strength. And as I was saying, obviously the physical is obvious. Fruits are, the trees are giving their fruit so we can eat. Israel and Yahudah are becoming strong finally. And the first and the last, through their doctrine, give strength to those who listen and act.